Hello and good evening. I am Ron Burgundy.
And I'm Veronica Corningstone. This is Milwaukee's Eyewitness News. Tonight on Eyewitness News, a special report into academic standards. Whether you are a teacher, a parent, or a student, there's a pretty good chance you have heard of standards.
Academic standards have been used to provide clear and consistent learning goals to help prepare students for college, career, and life. It benchmarks measures that define what students should know and master at a specified grade level.
When we return, Kathy Westrick, an assistant principal from Ronald Reagan College Preparatory High School, will join us to discuss academic standards.
Hello, Ron and Veronica. Thank you for having me today.
Kathy, thank you for joining us today. So you have been working in MPS for about 20 years now. Can you share with us your experience with academic standards?
Well, in 1994 the Reauthorization of Elementary and Secondary Education Act required states to adopt, adapt, or create standards and assessment in the classroom. Then in 1998 Wisconsin adopted model academic standards in 18 subject areas. I can tell you that for about the last 13 to 14 years, the MPS district used what they called learning targets in every subject. They created posters that had to be hung in every classroom, and every teacher was expected to know and cite these in their lessons. However, most teachers did not, because there was no accountability whatsoever. This changed about 4 to 5 years ago, with the new superintendent, Gregory Thornton, who looked into adopting and implementing the Common Core, and announced the formation and the eventual release of the Next Generation Science Standards. He also initiated the formation of the Common Core Literacy Plan, which included math, to guide the whole district.
And what guides were set for the sciences?
For the sciences, these learning targets were essentially exactly the same as the Wisconsin state standards for each subject. The national standards for science were released in 1998 when the 2061 NSTA project resulted in the need to develop scientific literacy standards. What is interesting, I think anyway, is how the state adopted the national standards through a committee, but had to retitle them Wisconsin State Standards, but then the district essentially adopted the same ones, but just barely tweaked some of the wording so that they had their own learning targets.
What was used to guide teachers in the classroom prior to learning targets in MPS?
Before learning targets were implemented, the district really didn't use so-called standards. Each subject had a guide that laid out objectives for each subject. This seemed to change every couple of years.
And how were these standards developed?
Committees within the district did all of this internally. Most of it was also based on the textbooks or just the committee's desires. Although there were national standards already, I do not recall any curriculum until after 4 years of teaching, which was about the year 2000. It took a while for the state to get on board. Then in 2001, the No Child Left Behind Act brought accountability for standard-based education to the forefront. This led to Wisconsin adapting the Common Core state standards in 2010.
Earlier, you had mentioned the Next Generation Science Standards. What exactly are the Next Generation Science Standards?
Prior to the Next Generation Science Standards, or I should say learning targets, were all about inquiry. This was a huge change for many of the veteran teachers at the time, and I would say that many have not yet grasped it or embraced it. As for myself, I fought quite a few battles when I started teaching, because no one I worked with really understood what inquiry was and how to incorporate it in the classroom. However, now I'm seeing that almost all science teachers are being trained in inquiry, and its importance. This has been a huge positive influence in science classrooms. The Next Generation Science Standards will address the vagueness that comes with inquiry-based learning.
Has the Next Generation Science Standards been adopted in MPS yet?
The state has not officially adopted the Next Generation Science Standards. However, they seem to be using it. I know MPS is definitely using it, and they have been trained and participated in webinars. The biggest changes I have seen are the incorporation of technology and earth, space sciences, getting equal weight as the physical and life sciences.
How do your colleagues feel about this?
This has definitely made a lot of us panic on how the state will address the next generation science standards. However, it is unclear how the district will enforce it.
In your time teaching and in administration, have you seen that the standards have made any improvements in the education students receive, or a change in the teachers themselves?
I'm not sure I could identify concrete improvements, but I do think having the common language of the standards and teachers all being informed about what to cover has changed the culture on education positively. It has reshaped education from a place where teachers pretty much did their own thing in their classes, covering whatever their favorite topics were, and no one bothered them, to a place where there is more accountability and consistency in what is taught across different classrooms for the same subject.
How fascinating. Kathy, thank you for taking the time to discuss academic standards with us today. You have been a great help.
It was my pleasure.
We will be back after this commercial break.
Hello, Wisconsin. I am Lucy Liu. Over the past year, my children have spent hours each night on their homework, frustrated, falling behind, and losing interest in school, sometimes even ending in tears. As a parent, I struggle dealing with the reality that is Common Core. Currently, there are 3 states that have rejected the Common Core state standards, and 20 states that have pending rejections, while 27 states are awaiting reality. Make your voice heard and contact your local representatives today. Your child's educational well-being depends on it.
Welcome back to Milwaukee's Eyewitness News. For those who are just joining us, today's special report is on academic standards, the Common Core standards for math, English language arts, as well as literacy and history, social studies, sciences, and the technical subjects for Wisconsin were adopted in 2010. They were implemented in MPS in 2013. Common Core standards are said to be a new way of learning and teaching, and they affect all of our children. The Department of Public Instruction's Director of Common Core State Standards, Emily Amundsen, has released a statement saying a Common Core standard is an expectation of what a student should know and be able to do by a particular grade level. They are designed to prepare students for college, life, and careers.
MPS has posted a video explaining the Common Core and Achievement Gap on their website. Let's take a look.
This video seems to be very informative, yet it is a confusing topic and has its fair share of controversy. Already, 46 states have signed on to the Common Core standards. However, about half are taking a second look, including Wisconsin. 2 weeks ago, the American Federation of Teachers, the country's second-largest teachers' union, opened its biannual convention Friday by announcing a step back from its support for the Common Core education standards.
Let's take a look at the president of the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten's opening address.
Some of you in this room think the standards should be jettisoned. Some of you, myself included, think they hold great promise, but they've been implemented terribly.
Last week, in his strongest statement on the issue yet, Governor Scott Walker calls on the state to repeal Common Core and replace it with standards set by the people in Wisconsin.
The state Senate committee will listen to what the public has to say on Thursday about a bill that could potentially halt Common Core in Wisconsin. From a recent report on JS Online, Milwaukee Public Schools continue to post some of the lowest reading and math scores in the country compared with their peers in a select group of major urban schools. The report, which separated and compared scores from the national test for 21 participating urban districts, shows no significant improvement for MPS since 2009 in the core academic subjects, and no change in the achievement gap.
Also, the WKCE is set to be replaced by the Common Core standard tests to create a level playing field when comparing states. Not only would parents and observers be able to see how certain schools, teachers, and students are performing, but they would also be able to make comparisons across schools, districts, and states.
The Common Core standard tests have yet to be released by BRACC and Smart Balanced in Wisconsin, but will be implemented this coming school year.
Will the public's opinion sway the decision to repeal Common Core? Or will it be given a chance by the people of Wisconsin, and will the next generation science standards be implemented in Wisconsin? For more information on Common Core and academic standards in Wisconsin, visit mpsmk.com. Following our broadcast will be a documentary on Common Core, called Building the Machine.
On behalf of all of us here at Milwaukee's Eyewitness News, you stay classy, Milwaukee.
And thanks for stopping by.
But mainly stay classy.